Okay, good morning, everybody. As we start our chitas of the day, we start with the Chumash. Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, our father, continues in the blessings of his children, and he says, "God gedud yigudena." As for God, a troop will troop forth from him, and he will troop back who Yagud Akev in his tracks. So the first one, Rashi proves, according to grammar and according to different verses in the Torah, that Gedud, God, and Yegudena are all words, are expression of a troop, like in the army. And therefore he tells him, and the second Rashi, and will troop back in its tracks, all his troops. He will be a very strong tribe. All his troops will return in their tracks to the territory that they took on the other side of the Jordan. And no one will be missing of them, because they took their part of Israel on the other side of the Jordan. And there would be a very strong shevet. They would go out to war, and they'll come back all from war. Akev in their tracks. Rashi says, Akev in their way and the path on which they went, they will return. Equivalent to the word Akev is their foot, the steps. That's a stone, and equivalent to the footsteps, etc. Verse 20. May Asher Shmeinai Lachmai. From the tribe of Asher will come rich food. V'hu yitim madane melech, and he will yield regal delicacies. So Rashi says, the food of Asher's territory will be rich, for there will be many olive trees in his territory, so that the olives will flow like a fountain. And thus did Moshe tell him, and dip in his foot is oil, as we learned in Menachot. The people of Laodicea once needed oil, so they appointed themselves a Gentile messenger, according to Rashi, a Gentile officer, according to this in Rabbeinu Gershom. He said to him, go and bring us oil worth 1,000,000 coins. The messenger went to Jerusalem. They told him, go to Tyre. So the messenger went to Tyre, where they told him, go to Giskala, town in the territory of Asher. The messenger went to Giskala, where they told him, go to so-and-so, to that field. He went to that field. He found a man breaking up earth around his olive tree. The messenger asked him, do you have 1,000,000 coins worth of oil? The man replied, yes, but wait for me until I finish my work. The messenger waited, and after the man finished the work, he cast his tools over his shoulder, went on his way, removing the stones for the path as he walked. The messenger thought to himself, has this man really 1,000,000 coins worth of oil? I think the Jews are playing a trick on me. As soon as the man arrived in his town, his maidservant brought him a kettle of hot water. The man washed his hands and feet with it. She then brought him a golden cup of oil, and he dipped his hands and feet in it to fulfill what is what it says in the Torah, and they dip his foot in oil. After he had dined, the man measured out a measure oil worth 1,000,000 coins. And he asked the messenger, do you need more? Yes, the messenger replied, but I have no money. The man said, if you want to buy, buy. I will come with you and collect the money for it. The man then measured out an additional oil for 180,000 coins. It was said that the messenger hired all the horses, mules, camels, and donkeys that he could find in the land of Israel. As soon as the messenger arrived hometown, the townspeople came out and praised him. He said to them, don't praise me. Praise this man who measured out for me oil for 1,000,000 coins, and I still owe him 180,000 coins. This is illustrated in the verse. This is the one who finds riches but has nothing. one who finds poverty but has great wealth. Verse 21. Naphtali ayala shlucha. Naphtali is as swift as a gazelle. Anoisin imri shafer, who utters beautiful words. So Rashi says, this is the valley of Genser, which ripens its fruit swiftly, like a gazelle, which runs swiftly. So Jacob said, your land is going to have fruits and it will bear fruits swiftly. Anoisin imri shafer. So Rashi says, as a Targum renders it. Another explanation, a swift gazelle. He, Jacob, prophesied during the war of Sisera, and takes with you 10,000 men from the tribe of Naphtali. And they went there with alacrity. And so it states there, with an expression of dispatching into the valley, they rushed forth with their feet. So Naphtali was a very fast tribe. Imre Shafer, through them Devorah and Baruch sang a song. Our rabbis of the Talmud, however, interpret the entire verse as an allusion to the day Jacob's burial, when Esav contended the ownership of the cave, attracted of Saita. Soon Jacob's son reached the cave of the Machpelah. Esav came out and stopped them. He said to them, Mamrikid Arba, which is in Hebron, belongs to me. Rabbi Isaac said in the name of Kisra, alludes to the four couples in turn, Adam and Eve, Abram and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. Jacob buried Leah in his place, and the remaining one, Esav, said that it was his. Jacob son Tete, you sold it. Although I sold my birthright, I did not sell my rights to an ordinary son to be buried in the Machpelah. They answered him, yes, it's written in my grave, which I bought for myself. Rabbi Yonasan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon, the son of Yerduk, Kira, means nothing but sale, mechira, for in the coastal cities, sale is known as a kira. Esav replied, give me the deed. They said to him, the deed is in Egypt. One said to another, who should go and get it? So he replied, let Naphtali go, because he is a fleet-footed as a gazelle. As it's written, Naphtali is swift as a gazelle. He is the one who utters beautiful words. Do not reach Imri Shafar, but Imri Sefer, words of a scroll. It was Naphtali who brought the deed to the cave. He ran back to Egypt, brought the deed of the cave to prove that Jacob had purchased it from Esav. So Jacob prophesied what would happen when he would die. Tagerem Yisrael Arava, Adava, which is his lot will fall in good land, and it will give thanks for his territory with beautiful words and praises. Okay, verse 22. Ben Peres Yosef. A charming son is Joseph. Ben Peres Ale Ayin, a son of charming to the eye of the woman. Sade al Shar, each one strode along to see him. So Rashi says, Ben Peres, a charming son. This is a expression of Aramaism, similar to the word used in expression, let us express our favor. So Ben Peres is a charm. Rav Shimon found at the end of Mitzvah. Ben Peres Ali Ayin, his charm attracts the eye that beholds him. B'nais Tzada Ali Shor, the woman in Egypt strode out on the walls to gaze upon his beauty. Of the woman, each one strode in a place in which she could catch a glimpse of him. He was a very handsome guy. Allah Shor, for the purpose of looking at him, similar to behold him, but not near. There are many midrashic interpretations, but this is the closest to the literal sense of the verse. Another explanation This is how it should be read, because according to the first explanation, shor would mean a wall. So therefore, Rashi says that self-understood. There's many interpretations and the meaning to this whole beautiful expression that he says. Parois, this is a grammar. Rashi explains the tav in it, paroi, the last letter in it. And he explains at the bottom that you'll see at the bottom. He said, okay, let's see the Rashi. The tav is added merely to enhance the language, similar to the word ali dibros, children of men. Concerning the matter, shoyd is equivalent to lishar, to see. Thus, the meaning is ali shoyd, in order to see. They would grow, they would climb the walls in order to see him. Two tribes will emerge from his children. They will each receive a share in the inheritance of the land. Scripture writes, Benois, alluding to the daughters of Menashe. And Benois Slav, the daughter of Slavchad, which is the grandchildren of Yosef, that they wanted a part of the land, who received a share in the land on both sides of the Jordan. So Ben Peres is rendered by my son, who will multiply. Is Joseph Peres, an expression of procreation, Pia Vidivya. When Esav came towards Jacob, all the other mothers went out ahead of their children to prostrate themselves. Concerning Rachel, however, it's written, and afterwards Joseph and Rachel drew near and bowed down, denoting that Joseph preceded Rachel. Joseph said, this scoundrel has a haughty eye. Perhaps he will take a fancy to my mother. So he went ahead of her, stretching his height to conceal her. His father was referring to this when he blessed him, Ben Peres, a son who grew, meaning he raised himself over Esav's eyes. Therefore, you have attained greatness. Ali Shoyd, so that says the woman, each one strode along to see him and to gaze at you when you went through Egypt. They, the rabbis, interpret Ali Shur further to referring to the idea that the evil eye should have no influence over his descendants. Also, when Jacob blessed Menashe and Ephraim, he blessed them that they should be like fish, over which the evil eye has no power. Verse 23. Vayimoru v'robu, and they heaped bitterness upon him. Vayistimu balechitzim, and became quarrelsome. Archers despised him. So Rashi says, Vayimoru, his brothers heaped bitterness upon him. And Potiphar and his wife heaped bitterness upon him by having him in prison. V'robu, his brothers became antagonistic, quarreled with him. This verse, v'robu, is not to form a palu, the simple activity. For a word which vowelized like rabu, that means to multiply. So Rashi again goes through that the v'robu in this verse means that they went out to quarrel with him, to argue with him, to antagonize him. The end of that Rashi says similar. The Targum Onkelos reads v'nik mohi, and they took revenge on him. Balechitzim call this because their tongues were like arrows. The Targum, however, renders mori pelukta, an expression similar to the meaning that those who were fit to share the inheritance with him. So they were people who tried to argue with him and break him. Verse 24, Vatesha be'esin kashtei, but his bow was strongly established. Vayifrei zreya yodov midei ovir Yaakov, and his arms were guided from the hands of the mighty one Jacob. Sham roya ev Yisrael, and from there he sustained the rock of Israel. So now she says, but his bow was strongly established. It became strongly established his bow, his strength, and his arms were guided. This refers to the placing of the signet ring on Joseph's hand, an expression of glittering gold. The elevation came to him from the hands of the Holy One, blessed be he, who's the mighty one of Jacob. From there, he, Joseph, was elevated to be the sustainer, rock of Israel, the mainstay of Israel. Yitzhak, an expression of Evan Harasha, the intel stone, which is an expression of royalty. Jacob the patriarch is considered a royal person. Uncle has two renders this way. He derived from Puz, fine gold. He renders Vatoshev as Vatavi Bahoini Vesel, meaning his prophecy returned and was fulfilled upon them, thus rendering Vatoshev returning rather to establish. The rock of Israel, Evan Yisrael, it can a Loshin Trukin, Av Uben, it's a traction of Av. If you take the word Av and Ben, you take the word Evan, and he's divided in half. Aleph Beis is Av, and Beis Nun is Ben, the father and son of Israel, fathers and sons. Verse 25. Me'ela vicha v'yazreka, from the God of your father, and he helped you. Ve'alkes shada yivarchecha, and the Almighty, and he has blessed you. Bircha shamayim me'al, birchas revetzes, tachas, with the blessings of heavens above, and the blessings of deep lying below. Bircha shadayim v'rachav, the blessings of the father and the mother. So Rashi says, this befell you, and he helped you. And your heart was with the Holy One, blessed be he, when he did not heed to your mistress, when you did not heed to your mistress' orders. It's because of this he blessed you. The blessings of your father and mother, Birchas Dayim v'Rachab Unkos renders, Birchas Da'ava Di'ima, the blessings of your father and mother. That is to say, that the one who begets the children, and the one who bears the children will be blessed. The males will be impregnated with a drop of semen that is fit for conception, and the females will not lose but in their womb and miscarry the fetus. Shadayim comes from the word meaning father. They shall cast down. It's translated in Targum, Ishtadata Yeshadi. Here Shadayim means the father because semen shoots like an arrow. Verse 26. Birchas avicha gova birchas hoirai. The blessings of your father surpass the blessings of my parents. Atavas give us olam tiher le'shesav le'kotkav nezir echav. May they come to Joseph's head and to the crown of his head of the one who he separated from his brothers. So now she says, the blessing of the Holy One, blessed be he, has blessed me, surpasses the blessing that has blessed my parents. Because my blessing extends only to the end of the boundaries of the everlasting hills, for he gave me a limitless blessing without boundaries, reaching the four corners of the earth. As it says, you shall spread westward and eastward, which he did not say to our father Abraham and Isaac. To Abraham he said, please raise your eyes and see, for all the land that you see I will give to you. And he showed him only the land of Israel. To Isaac he said, for you and your seed I'll give this land, and I will establish it as an oath that I swore to Abraham your father. But over here, Jacob was given the whole world. This is what Isaiah says, and I'll provide you an heritage of Jacob your father, but did not say a heritage of Abraham, because we have the blessing of Jacob, and that blessing goes throughout the world. Hoirai, Loshen Hidoyen, Hoirai expression of conception, meaning that they caused me to conceive in my mother's womb, similar to a man who's impregnated. Atavose, Nachum ben Surah class exactly the same way. which is the end, the bounds, not Tavasi. Tavasi, until the ends, like, and you shall demarcate as your eastern border, to the ends of the border. Tiyana kulum le'ishaysim, all of them to Joseph's head. Nizir Echav, Nizir Onkelos translated the East Peshe, who is separated from his brothers, similar to, and they shall separate from the holy things of the children of Israel. So he was separated from his family. The mighty of Jacob, according to this interpretation, this phrase renders my hand of the mighty of Jacob, who is able to overcome his temptations, because his father's image appeared to him, as related in the Gemara. See above, chapter 39, verse 11. The end of the verse explains as follows: Yisrael Misham Roya Oven. From there, he merited to be the shepherd of Israel, to have a stone among the stones of the tribes of Israel. Now Rashi returns to the verse today. He wishes to clarify Onkelos, Targum Onkelos, which renders the verse as follows: Your father's blessings shall be added to the blessings that my fathers blessed me, which the great of all the righteous desires for themselves. Onkelos, however, renders givos olam, tavis, givos olam, as an expression of desire and longing, as the hills, an expression of pillars of the earth. So this completes as you can see, all these statements and blessings of Jacob have within it many, many interpretations, hidden in it prophecies, the past, the present, and the future. Let us go to the Tanya of the day. Alter Rebbe continues to explain the concept of a Beinoni. And somebody have asked me even, what is the difference, according to this explanation, between a Beinoni and a Tzaddik Viraloi? Almost sound like the same. What would be the difference? So the Alter Rebbe says there's a very big difference. There's a very big difference between a Tzaddik and a Beinoni. Because a Beinoni, even though he has not done a sin, even though he controls even a sin in his thought, speech, and action, Afa became nevertheless Eina Nikrat Tzaddik Klal. He's not called a tzaddik at all. For this dominance, that the light of the divine soul has over darkness and folly over klippa of the animal soul, which is automatically dispelled, Eina ella b'sheish levush, it's going to is only in the garments of the soul. That means it doesn't let that the garments of thought, speech, and action should be controlled by his animalistic soul. But not but the essence and the core of the divine soul does not dominate the essence and the core of the animal soul. The animal soul is still alive and well. It has its own agenda, and therefore it doesn't give up the fight. By the tzaddik, even by the incomplete tzaddik, his animal soul is asleep or it's in a coma. It gave up. It might be there, but it gave up because he's given up. He knocked him a knock. He didn't kill him, but he gave him a blow that knocked him out. By the Beinoni, he doesn't allow his animal soul to take hold of even his thought and his speech and his action. But his animal soul is alive. Because for a Beinoni, the essence and core of his animal soul, originating from Klippa, which is lodged in the left part of his heart, remains undisturbed. Not displaced by the vandals. He's not displaced anywhere. He's right there. And therefore, it can come into action any moment. and especially after davening shein that when he doesn't have the burning fire of God is no more revealed in the right side of his heart, what happens? His animal soul is back in action, and it wants to again think animalistic things, and it wants to even talk animalistic things. Rather, the love after prayer only is inside his heart, inlaid with hidden love, meaning the love which is natural to the divine soul, not revealed love born of meditation, the Bane experience during prayer, but a natural hidden love of God, as we'll discuss further. We'll get to chapter 18. But Bainly has a love of God, and the proof is when he davened, he forgot about his animalistic soul. He actually, when he was in prayer, he put his animalistic soul to sleep. But if he finishes prayer, his godly soul has taken a little bit of a backstep. And what can happen when your godly soul takes a little bit of a backstep? What can happen is then it's possible for the folly of the wicked soul, the animal soul, to reveal itself. And now your animal soul has the capability to make himself known. We're out of shul. We're out of davening. Your animalistic soul says, wait a second. Okay, I went to sleep for half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour. I'm back here. Don't forget me. And what is the meaning? Craving all physical matters of this world, whether permitted, I'm talking about doing a sin, or whether prohibited, God forbid. And the situation is, like he never prayed. So he forgot that he ever prayed. When he prayed, he was totally involved in his godly soul. He forgot about the world. He separated himself from the world. Now he comes into the world. Oy vey, there's a world. He's in the real world. And there's things that he wants. And there's things that he desires. And there's things that he needs. What happened to your whole prayer? Craving is limited. Only in that, in cases of a craving for a prohibited matter, a Bainani is never going to want to do a sin, God forbid. It does not enter his mind to transgress an actual practice, God forbid. For what goes in the mind? But thoughts of a sin, which at a certain respect, as explained in the previous chapter, are more heinous than actual sin. People think that thinking is nothing, at least I didn't do it. But Torah tells us thinking is something that will affect your psyche and affect your being even forever. If you're never going to rectify this thought might hinder everything else you do in life. So it can be even worse than the action. Because most of us will do tshuva on an action, but we won't do tshuva on a thought. And that's a terrible thing. Because when you have thoughts and you can't control your thoughts, then it will distract you from Torah and the service of God. Statement from our sages of blessed memory. There are 3 sins that a person does every day, and no man is safe from transgressing daily. And though one of them is a thought of a sin, and the lack of concentration in prayer, and slander and gossip. So these are things that people fall into, and most of us think that that's not so terrible things. So it's only speech and action. There's an expression in America: sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never harm me. That's not true in Torah. Not only sticks and stones breaks another person's bones, but names will harm him. And a Jew has to realize that thought, speech in the Torah could be worse than an action. to himself, maybe not to somebody else, but to his godly soul, it might be worse than an action of hurting somebody else. Because hurting somebody else, you can rectify in a second. You can go to him, ask him forgiveness, and rectify. But having evil thoughts of hurting somebody else, having evil thoughts of evil speech, of talking about somebody else, might be something that will hurt that person for years and generations to come, and destroy the person more than going and punching him. And therefore, we have to realize that the Beinoni won't do that either. He won't do that either, to do a prohibited thing in thought and in speech. He might do things, he has a desire to do it, but he will never actually think of doing it. Because the second he will think about it, he will move away from it, as the Alter Rebbe will explain. So in essence, there's two things. There is the natural thought of a Beinoni, because he has an animalistic soul. So the second he finishes prayer and he leaves the place of prayer, he might have a natural capability of thought, but he doesn't have a conscious thought. That means the second he will start to think about it, it'll come to his mind, he'll push it away. He will distract himself, because he'll realize that it's unfit for a middleman. And that ends the Tanya for today. Today is the 16th day of the month, and the Tillim is chapters 79, 80, 81, 82. 79, 80, 81, and 82. And you would have done the chitas of the day. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful day. I'll meet you all tomorrow. This is still the 12th chapter in Tanya. We are still in the middle of the 12th chapter of Tanya. So this will continue mission tomorrow at 8 a.m. I wish you all a happy new year. May God give us the year 2021 should be better, healthier, happier in our lives. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. See you all next year at 8 a.m.